So today we're going to talk about the comparative and superlative forms of adjectives. As an example, we might say she is tall, but she is taller than him, or she is the tallest in the class. For the adjective tall, the comparative form is taller and the superlative form is tallest. For longer adjectives in English, we don't tend to use the ER or EST endings. Instead, we use the words more and most. As an example, we might say your book is interesting, but your book is more interesting than mine, or your book is the most interesting one that I have read this year. In Guernsey, there are no endings equivalent to ER or EST, and the second method is used. So here's an example of a comparative. Il est plus malin que son frère.
Il est plus malin que son frère.
Il est plus malin que son frère.
Il est plus malin que son frère. He's more intelligent than his brother. From this we can see the structure is the same as in English, using the second method. After the verb comes plus, which means more, followed by the adjective, followed by que, which means than. We use the adjective intelligent to translate malin, rather than more straightforward clever, since in English the comparative of clever is formed by adding er. The superlative is also formed in a similar way to English. Il est le plus malin de la famille.
Il est le plus malin de la famille.
Il est le plus malin de la famille.
Il est le plus malin de la famille. He is the most intelligent of the family. Here, the most is replaced by le plus. So the word more and most are both replaced by the word plus. The S on plus is pronounced when it's said by itself, but not when followed by another word. Of course, if the noun is feminine, the adjective has to agree. Il est plus vieil que son frère.
Il est plus vieil que son frère.
Il est plus vieil que son frère.
Il est plus vieil que son frère. He's older than his brother. Elle est plus vieille que son frère.
Elle est plus vieille que son frère.
Elle est plus vieille que son frère.
Elle est plus vieille que son frère. She's older than her brother. Il est le plus vieil de sa famille.
Il est le plus vieil de sa famille.
Il est le plus vieil de sa famille.
Il est le plus vieil de sa famille. He is the oldest of his family. Elle est la plus vieille de sa famille.
Elle est la plus vieille de sa famille.
Elle est le plus vieille de sa famille.
Elle est la plus vieille de sa famille. She is the oldest of her family. Similarly, if the noun is plural, it has to agree. Il est plus court que son body.
Il est plus court que son body.
Il est plus court que son body.
Il est plus court que son body. He's shorter than his mate. Elle est la plus courte de la classe.
Elle est la plus courte de la classe.
Elle est la plus courte de la classe.
Elle est la plus courte de la classe. She is the shortest in the class. Ces garçons-là sont les plus courts de la classe.
Ces garçons-là sont les plus courts de la classe.
Ces garçons-là sont les plus courts de la classe.
Ces garçons-là sont les plus courts de la classe. Those boys are the shortest in the class. Ces filles-là sont les plus courtes de la classe.
Ces filles-là sont les plus courtes de la classe.
Ces filles-là sont les plus courtes de la classe.
Ces filles-là sont les plus courtes de la classe. Those girls are the shortest in the class. All these are comparisons or superlatives of superiority, but they're also comparisons of inferiority. In English we use the words less and least. Today is less cold than yesterday, and today is the least cold day of the year so far. In Guernsey, the word used to signify less is moins, and the least le, la, les, moins. Il est moins vieil que sa sœur.
Il est moins vieil que sa sœur.
Il est moins viau que sa sœur.
Il est moins vieux que sa sœur. He's less old than his sister. The comparisons of inferiority are not used that much in English, and they're used even less in genius ye. So rather than saying less old, as in the previous sentence, we might say il est plus jaune que sa sœur.
Il est plus jaune que sa sœur.
Il est plus jaune que sa sœur.
Il est plus jaune que sa sœur. He's younger than his sister. Finally, there are comparisons of equality. In English, these take the form as, followed by an adjective, followed by as again. For instance, as old as. The corresponding form in genius ye is aussi, followed by an adjective, followed by que, which would be aussi viave que for the English adjective old. So here are some examples. Il est aussi haut que son père.
Il est aussi haut que son père.
Il est aussi haut que son père.
Il est aussi haut que son père. He is as tall as his father. Il est aussi court que sa sœur.
Il est aussi court que sa sœur.
Il est aussi court que sa sœur.
Il est aussi court que sa sœur. He's as short as his sister. To form the negative in English, we just insert the word not. For example, not as old as. But in genius ye, the word aussi and que change to si and comme. For example, il n'est pas si haut comme son père.
Il n'est pas si haut comme son père.
Il n'est pas si haut comme son père.
Il n'est pas si haut comme son père. He isn't as tall as his father. Il n'est pas si court comme sa sœur.
Il n'est pas si court comme sa sœur.
Il n'est pas si court comme sa sœur.
Il n'est pas si court comme sa sœur. He isn't as short as his sister. Incidentally, the form we were talking about earlier, he's less old than his sister, which we suggested might be said as he's younger than his sister, can be more naturally expressed using the negative comparison of equality. Il n'est pas si vieux comme sa sœur.
Il n'est pas si vieux comme sa sœur.
Il n'est pas si vieux comme sa sœur.
Il n'est pas si vieux comme sa sœur. He's not as old as his sister. Now, just as there are a few adjectives which have irregular comparatives and superlatives in English, there are a few irregular forms in genius ye. The two most common irregular adjectives in English are good and bad. So we don't say gooder or goodest, we say better and best. In a similar way, we say worse and worst rather than badder or baddest. It turns out that the same two adjectives are the main irregular forms in genius ye. So recall that good is beau. The word better and best is mieux. For example, to leave a mieux que m'olive.
To leave a mieux que m'olive.
To leave a mieux que m'olive.
To leave a mieux que m'olive. Your book is better than my book. To leave a le mieux.
To leave a le mieux.
To leave a le mieux.
To leave a le mieux. Your book is the best. An E has to be added to mieux if the object we are describing is feminine. Ta gâche est mieux que ma gâche.
Ta gâche est meilleure que ma gâche.
Ta gâche est mieux que ma gâche.
Ta gâche est mieux que ma gâche. Your cake is better than my cake. Ta gâche est la mieux.
Ta gâche est la meilleure.
Ta gâche est la meilleure.
Yeah, ta gâche est la mieux. Your cake is the best. One also has to add an S for plurals. Chez livre-là, c'est les mieux.
Chez livre-là, c'est les mieux.
Chez livre-là, c'est les meilleurs.
Ces livres-là, c'est les mieux. Those books are the best. Ces gâches et chien, c'est les mieux.
Chez gâche et chien, c'est les meilleurs.
Chez gâche et chien, c'est les meilleurs.
Ces gâches et chien, c'est les mieux. These cakes are the best. The word for bad is mauvais, and for worse and worse is pire. Here are some examples. Shuvaishai et pire kelaut.
Shuvaishai et Pierre Kelaut.
Shuvai shai et Pierre Kelaut.
Shuvaishai et pire kelaut. This wine is worse than the other one. Shuvaishai et le pire.
Shuvaishai et le Pierre.
Shuvai shai et le Pierre.
Shuvaishai et le pire. This wine is the worst. Since Pierre ends in E, its feminine form is unchanged. So we say Shut bir ishai et Pierre kelaut.
Shut Pirishai et Pierre Kelaut.
Shut biri shai et Pierre Kelaut.
Shut bir ishai et Pierre kelaut. This beer is worse than the other one. Shut bir ishai et la Pierre.
Shut Pirishai et la Pierre.
Shut biri shai et la Pierre.
Shut bir ishai et la Pierre. This beer is the worst. Finally, an S is added for the plural. Chez vin ishai, c'est les pierres.
Chez Vai Ishai Saint les Pierre.
Chez vai ishai saint les Pierre.
Chez vin ishai, c'est les pierres. These wines are the worst. Chez bir ishai, c'est les pierres.
Chez Pirishai Saint les Pierre.
Chez biri shai saint les Pierre.
Chez bir ishai, c'est les pierres. These beers are the worst. There is sometimes confusion concerning the Guernsey word for better. If we look at the dictionary entry for better, there are two forms given, miai and mu. So why have we been using miai rather than mu? The reason is that mu is an adverb. Adverbs are compared in a similar way to adjectives. In English we say, she did well in her test, but she did better than her brother. So better is the comparative form of the adverb well. In other words, the comparative forms of good and well are both better in English, but in Guernsey they are different. Miai for good and mu for well. So we're going to end with a chat about the difference between bois and bio. So this continues a discussion about the difference between miai and mu. The confusion arises not only because they both mean better, but from a more basic difference between the concepts that they represent. The word in Guernsey for good is bois, and for well is bio. But many English speakers get these two words mixed up. So we'll give some examples of their usage below, but let's first note that bois is one of those adjectives where the final consonant is doubled when forming the feminine form. So that it is worn, that is with an ne added to the masculine form. So some uses of the word bois and born are en bonne idée.
En bonne idée.
En bonne idée.
En bonne idée, a good idea. En bon serai.
En bon serai.
En bon serai.
En bon serai, a good evening. As in, nous ayai en bon serai.
Nous ayai en bon serai.
Nous ayai en bon serai.
Nous ayai en bon serai, we've had a good evening. A bourf pas.
A bour pas.
A bour pas.
A bourf pas, a good meal. En bon état.
En bon état.
En bon état.
En bon état, in good order, in a good state. Du bon son.
Du beau son.
Du bon son.
Du bon son, good sense. A bon âme, a good man.
A bon âme.
A bon âme.
A bon âme, a good man. En bonne forme.
En bonne forme.
En bonne forme.
In bonne form, a good woman. So now, on the other hand, some uses of the word bio. Sai bio.
Sai bio.
Saibio.
Sai bio, I know, or I know well enough. Je veux bio.
Cheveux bio.
Je veux bio.
Je veux bio, I'd very much like. E bio.
Ebio.
Ebio.
Ebio, oh well. Ebio bang.
Ebio ban.
Ebio ban.
Ebio bang, well I never. Ine pa bio.
Ine pobio.
Inepabio.
Ine pa bio, he's not well. Ine pa otubio.
Ine pa otubio.
Inepa otubio.
Ine pa otubio, he's not at all well. Eit osaibio.
Eit asoibio.
Eit asaibio.
Eit osaibio, to be well enough. Although we don't want to go into the comparative forms of adverbs here, we just note that mal is the opposite of bio in Gemini's ye, and that it has an irregular comparative form Pierre, worse. So Pierre reappears here as an adverb rather than an adjective. So we say il est mal, he's bad, but il est Pierre, he's worse.